Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shiba, associated with the Department of Social Work, Bhopal School of Social Sciences. Today we are going to discuss about transactional analysis. I have divided this particular topic into two modules. So today we would be discussing about an introduction to transactional analysis, who can benefit from transactional analysis therapy, benefits of transactional analysis therapy, and three key concepts in transactional analysis, that is the PAC, parent, adult and child ego state. So let's start with the introduction. Transactional analysis is a therapeutic tool for positive change and growth. And this tool is developed by psychiatrist Eric Berne, and this is it's part of the modern psychology that examines a person's relationships and interaction. And Berne took inspiration from Sigmund Freud's theory of personality, combining them with his own observation of human interaction in order to develop transactional analysis. So this transactional analysis is used to address one's interaction and communication with the purpose of establishing and reinforcing the idea that each individual is valuable and they have the capacity for positive change and personal growth. And TA basically is the study of how people take on certain behaviors either by accident or from the early caretakers or authority figures and then continue to play them out in their adult lives. It's a model for people to use to work towards autonomy, a place from where they can choose to live the way they want and not to be still acting as if they are controlled by past events or messages. In short, we don't have to cling on to the past behaviors that we have learned from the authoritative figures or maybe the caretakers which we have imbibed. There is always a chance for unlearn and relearn. So that's what an understanding of transactional analysis can give hope for the person, in that they can change the script and choose the way they want to rewrite their own life plan without hanging on to inappropriate behaviors of the past. That is, unlearn and relearning the aspects. Now we will discuss about who can benefit from transactional analysis therapy. This type of therapy can help to solve a variety of problems. This can be even applied outside of counseling, such as education, parenting, coaching and business. Any situation where there is a lack of understanding or conflict can benefit from transactional analysis. It is particularly useful for solving conflicts between couples, family members, colleagues, friends, and also the conflicts that happens in the organization. Now let us move on to the benefits of transactional analysis. It can increase self-awareness among the individuals. It promotes personal reflection. You can reflect on your behavior. How did you behave when a circumstance occurred? What kind of ego state you applied? So that you will be able to manage the conflict, or you will be able to avoid certain circumstances which can invoke a conflicting situation. Then it helps the people to find out more effective ways to communicate. It can eliminate unhelpful thoughts, feelings and actions. It can help people to take responsibility for their thoughts and actions. It is we who are controlling ourselves. Nobody can control us from outside. So you have to consciously put an effort on managing your interactions, your communication skills. It can be applied to many types of problems. And furthermore, TA aids personal development and is used to treat dysfunctions in group or individual psychotherapy. It can be used in business. TA has had great success in business and is used to improve the dynamics in the organization. It can be used in education, as I have mentioned in my previous slides. It can also be used in social professions, in care or social professions such as nursing, teaching and social work also. It is helpful for parents in understanding themselves and also their children to have a better relationship with their children and family members. And husbands and wives in marriage counseling, TA is very helpful, and in organization it is mainly used by the managers. Now let us move on to the ego states explained by Eric Berne. The personality for transactional analysis for Berne is based on the recognition of three quite different ego states. That is, the parent, adult and the child. We say PAC. So an ego state, as per Berne, it is a system of feelings accompanied by related sets of behavioral patterns. And according to transactional analysis, The building blocks of our personality are ego states, and the term ego state means the state of ego or I. Thus, I is the central. So, let us discuss about this parent, adult and child ego state in detail. Just to recall what Sigmund Freud's stages of mind, he mentioned about id, ego and superego. You are quite aware about what is id and what is ego and superego. When it comes to the ego states mentioned by the Eric Berne, for instance, when it comes to the child ego state, it has the spontaneous feelings, compliance and rebellions. All those are features of child ego state. This may be activated by the individual any time throughout his life. That means if you are a child, you can express this child ego state. When you become an adult or in the old age also, this ego state may be prominent into you. It depends upon the situation and the context. Berne recognized these three ego states must be in everyone, and that together they make up the unique individual's personality. Each ego state is concerned with what actually happened in the past for that person, and how they acted will determine how they act in here and now. So, the decisions that they made then will determine the decisions and the behaviors they are now making in the present. So, it has a greater influence on your behavioral pattern. Now, let us discuss the parent ego state. The parent ego state contains the attitudes, behaviors that are observed and copied from individuals' parents, the caretakers and authority figures. Or in other words, we can say it is the spoken and the unspoken rules, or the shoulds and oughts of life. When it comes to the parent ego state, all of us in childhood absorb the personalities of others into our own. Usually, without being conscious of it, we pick up others' postures, gestures, habits, ideas and expressions. This collection of attitudes, feelings and behaviors copied from any or all significant parent figures become part of the parent ego state. So, whatever we have learned from the parents, the caretakers and the authoritative figures during our childhood, it becomes part of our personality. We record these ways of saying and doing things in our brains, and later in life they become almost automatic responses. When in a parent ego state, we literally behave the way our parents behaved. And there are two concepts which are included in the parent ego state. The individual's early parent is formed in the child from birth to approximately 5 years, and in transactional analysis we call this term as parent in child, or P1. The complete parent ego state, or the P2, is formed between the ages of 5 years to approximately 20 years as a result of even more external stimuli from the authority of care figures. So, there are two things, one is P1 and P2, the parent in child and the complete parent ego state. So, the P1, that means it develops in a child from birth to approximately 5 years, and the parent ego state means 5 years to approximately 20 years. So, in 20 years time, we will learn the parent ego state and we start projecting the parent even before the parent ego state. Let us take one or two case examples. Case 1, like Bob was the leader of his group of friends, and it was he who always set the time that they should meet, where they should go and what they should do. He often shook his finger at his friends reprovingly. People in this circle of friends eventually got fed up of him and many left the group. That is case 1. And case 2, Mary and Joanne, they were very good friends and they went everywhere together. When Joanne's mother died, it was Mary who looked after her and often put her arm around Joanne, saying the words like, don't worry about things, I will help you with all your work and I love you a lot, So, in these two case examples, you might have observed that one is a kind of controlling parenting and the other one is a nurturing or a caring parenting. Now, let us talk about the nurturing parenting and the controlling or the critical parenting. In nurturing parenting, you will often find an empathetic approach of the individual, whereas in controlling parenting or critical parenting, there will be always should, ought to, you must do it. So, the critical parent ego state is about blaming others and giving unconstructive criticism. It includes behaviors like attacking other people, being extremely judgmental, not listening, not interested in explanation. The critical parent will write off you as a person rather than deal with your behavior. Thus, when you see a student talking in a class, distracting himself and others, the teacher calls him a nuisance. This is not dealing with the behavior but labeling the student as a nuisance. When the teachers do that, they are behaving from the critical parenting ego state. And now moving on to the nurturing parenting. The nurturing parenting ego state is primarily concerned with looking after, nurturing and comforting people. It is rooted in understanding and tries to make people good about themselves. Action taken from this state instills confidence and encourages others to go on and is full of appreciation for the people and their positive behaviors. More caring, more empathetic, very happy with one another. Thus, when you congratulate a student on winning an elocution contest, you are in your nurturing parenting role, or the nurturing parent supports life, growth and self-expression. It empowers a person to be a winner. You are more patting on the back. You are appreciating somebody. These are all gestures, or you are projecting the ego state of a nurturing parent. Now, this is a slide which speaks about the vocabulary, the tone, the facial expression, the gestures which are expressed when you are in the parent ego state. Just for instance, should, don't, must, always, never. The tone also differs. Sometimes like sneering, very loud, very harsh, but when in a nurturing parenting ego state, you will be more sympathetic or you will be more empathetic in nature. Your tone will also be like that, and you will be having an encouraging words. And your facial expression also, you smile encouragingly, and you will not raise your eyebrows when you are in nurturing parenting, but in a controlling parenting state, you will be raising your eyebrows. And your gesture, your posture, that also varies in these two ego states. Now, the next ego state is the adult ego state. The adult ego state emerges around 6 months in child and is concerned primarily with appraising facts, reasoning, thinking, evaluating and responding to available data. So, in transactional analysis, the writers like computer concerned only with rationality and logic. Computer is only focusing on the facts and figures. They are only focusing on the rationality and logic. In the adult ego state, you can see the same aspects. Indeed, the person will be a part of here and now and experiencing and coming from an integrated adult stance. Now, the adult ego state behaviors are about you would be collecting the data, you will be analyzing, evaluating the information, making sense of that and trying to make a balanced judgment about things. And you deal with facts, you think before you speak something. So, it is basically, you are here and now, the factors. The adult ego state is about trying to understand why do we respond or behave in a particular way and make a conscious choice. The adult behaviors are being very calm, very rational in nature, then analytical, unemotional, logical and reasonable based on the facts. So, the typical words which are used in adult ego state, we are questioning like why, when, where, what, how, who. Does it make sense? It checks on the reality before making any conclusion about the responses. Now, there is a concept called photographic adult. The photographic adult is that part of personality which perceives what is happening in here and now, records it in the brain, remembers it and reports on it. Let's say for instance, when someone tells you that you had worn the same shirt in the party last week, there they are in the photographic adult state. Now, the second one is the combining adult. The combining adult is that part of personality which makes calculations using data that comes from the photographic adult. So, there is a connection. And what is stored in one's memory? It calculates the probabilities, making prediction and does most of the reasoning. Now, I can give an example for that. When you tell your teacher that in the forthcoming board examinations, you are likely to get 80% marks. Your prediction is based on your observation and analysis of how well you have understood the concepts and your average score in the practice test and the kind of effort that you are putting on one side. So, that is called combining adult. So, you are carrying some instances from your memory, whatever is recorded in the memory as part of the photographic adult, and you are combining it and you are predicting something when it comes to the combining adult. So, in the adult ego state, you will find all these attributes like the person will be assertive, very open, present here and now, very objective in nature, very rational, speaks about equality, they consider everybody equal, value the presence of others, more aware about themselves and respect also. Now, there is a case which I wanted to discuss. James decided to go and see his aunt who lived in the next town. As he had never left this town before, he had to get his map out to work and how to get there. This he did successfully and he got to his aunt's house at the time he said he would. Thus, we can see that James used his adult ego state to work out logically the given facts and how to solve a given problem. So, that was an instance of adult ego state. Now, we will move on to the child ego state. The child ego state is that part of personality which is preserved from actual childhood. It also contains all the impulses a person was born with. The child ego state, as said above, primarily about spontaneous feelings, needs and wants of the child. It is important to note that the child ego state contains recordings of childhood memories and experiences. Therefore, when the person feels and acts as they did when they were very young, they are experiencing their child ego state. So, the child ego state is the source of our emotional responses. The child again feels the emotions that the situation originally produced in him or her, and he or she becomes aware of the same interpretation, whether it is true or false, which she or he had gave to the experience in the first place. Everybody carries, within them some permanent recordings, the way they have experienced the world, the way they felt about the world, the way they got adapted to it. It's like our mental tape recorder is recording events on one track, that is a parent, and the feelings associated with those events in another track, that is a child. Or in other words, the child ego state is the recording of internal events or the responses of the little person to what he sees and hears. It is the recording of joy, surprises, amazement and all the wonderful feelings associated with our first discoveries of life on one hand, and on the other hand the terror, agony and all the fearful feelings that we had experienced in our childhood. There are many things that can happen to us today as adults which recreate the situation of childhood. When this happens, we say that our child ego state has taken over. So with this, we will conclude today's module. In the next module, we would be discussing about the different types of child ego state and the strokes, the transactional strokes, then cross transaction and as well as complementary transaction. Thank you so much.